What's going on, everybody? This is On the Fence podcast. This is our first episode. I'm the host, Seven Crawford. That's the guest, Ian Crawford. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm the guest.
I mean, I guess we're both
hosts.
we're the both hosts. Yeah, we're both hosts. So we get to split the 99 cents that we make from this podcast.
Or like 30
Yeah,
cents.
I don't know. Anyways, that's not why we're doing it. Not entirely why we're doing it. But all right.
I'm Eden.
You go for Yeah, you go ahead.
And
How old are you?
I'm 19.
How tall are you?
Not important.
What are your pronouns? Okay, I'm just kidding. My name's Seven. I'm 18. I just turned 18, actually. It's kind of crazy. All right, I guess we're just going to get right into it. This is the first episode of hopefully many. We'll see how consistent us teenagers can stay with this. But first off, we came up with some questions. I guess I'll go first. The first question, I know all you guys are wondering, on the fence, what does that mean? The answer is we didn't have any other name ideas. If you have suggestions, well, no, it's already too late actually to change the name. But we got fences here, which is pretty appropriate for the title.
Well, I have a good
Yeah, why is it called On the Fence?
Well, okay, so first of all, we were up in my room trying to think of a good name for our podcast, even though that's probably, out of all the things we could have been doing to prepare for the podcast, maybe that's the least important thing. But Seven was coming up with all these, in my opinion, kind of lame, less catchy ideas.
Like
Pear.
I came up with like pear, like a fruit, but we're like a pear, so it's like pear fruit, and then some of the stupid ones like paper podcast, just for whatever reason.
anyways, I wanted to try and do something like a play on words, but he came up with On the Fence, and I liked it a lot because it could mean a lot of different things. Like, for one, we're both pretty young and we're on the fence about like a lot of parts of our life. So it feels
appropriate,
pretty relevant. And then it also is like, I feel like we're pretty inexperienced. I don't know. I feel like that like goes along with that theme. So
yeah,
I like the title a lot.
Definition of on the fence: not able to decide something. Many consumers are still on the fence, waiting for a less expensive computer. Okay, so it's like undecided. I don't know. That's what it means, but that's just what our thing is called. And our profile picture is pretty dope, which by now should be made, but she's working on it right now. It's like 2 stick figures, and then I'm gonna Photoshop our faces on it, of like on a fence. It's gonna be pretty sick. Sponsored by Rainier Beer. That's why that's there. It's actually not true.
Okay.
Because it's cool.
Let's get into.
If you're wondering why I have 2 layers on, it's because it's so cold in here. I got a thick flannel and a hoodie and a t-shirt and another t-shirt under here.
All right. Let's get into our topics for today. One, I think if I was watching this and I had any familiarity with Fight for Together, I would be like, what happened to Fight for Together?
Yeah, I need to say that. You just got to say. So, where has Fight for Together been? Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you. We haven't uploaded a video in a very, very long time, and we have been very inconsistent with it compared to like the past years. We used to do daily vlogging. By we, I mean my dad. And I would edit the videos, and Eden eventually started doing the thumbnails, which is very crucial for YouTube. A lot of you non-YouTubers wouldn't know.
That's how you get them.
Yeah, that's how you get them to click the video. It's like an example would be like marketing. You can't sell a good product unless you have good marketing, even if it's a good product. So that's the marketing side of it.
It's hard to. It's not impossible.
Yeah. So we both helped out a lot with YouTube channel. At some point, Eden took over Fight for Together. Like, she started vlogging. How many did you make?
I did it for 3 months.
Yeah.
I think it was twice a week, but it might have been 3 times a week. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that was the spring, so a while back, almost a year ago.
Yeah. And then like here and there I would make like videos on Forever Together, like vlog stuff for like the house, or just like update videos that I was like passionate about. Sometimes I would upload them on that YouTube channel. I'm actually not sure where this podcast video is going to go. It will go on the Forever Together channel with my dad's permission. So hopefully it is going to make it there someday. Anyways, we're getting way off topic. What history of Forever
what
Together?
happened to Forever Together?
Yeah.
We just stopped vlogging and
I just like lost motivation for
started. Yeah, I mean, there was so much pressure to like kind of carry on the mantle, and like my dad, I mean, would like emphasize, he'd be like, okay, we have this platform, we have all these people who have been watching us for such a long time, and now like they're not watching us because we're not putting anything out. It feels like wrong, but it's also like there has been so much going on in my personal life, and I'm sure Seven would say the same.
So busy, dude. We're so busy all the time.
Which is not the best excuse, but
we barely have enough time to make this podcast, so you're welcome.
No.
My time is very valuable. I was gonna say something. Oh yeah, I felt like a lot of pressure to like make videos for the YouTube channel because we have like 50,000 subscribers on that YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, "Hey, you guys can make a living off of this. Actually, not in that scenario, but like being a YouTuber, you can make a living off of that. Actually."
I mean, it almost felt like stupid to like let it go to waste, but.
Yeah, but all the pressure that I had because, like, all the pressure of how many comments there were and how much like feedback there is on each video and everything, like the dislikes or whatever, was all on like our whole family almost, mostly at my parents. And then for all that to like go directly to like me and Eden with like, instantly, instead of you starting out a YouTube channel with 0 subscribers and then you work your way up and that comes more gradually. That really wasn't the case for this. It was just kind of like a lot of pressure. And that just kind of like, it just kind of wasn't something that I was expecting when I put out a video or two. Like I was like, wow, that did not go as well, or people did not see that as many times as I wanted to. Yeah. Just like a lot of expectations that I feel like I shouldn't have for, it's like generally not good to have expectations in my opinion, just because if I'm like, oh, I want this podcast to blow up and then it doesn't, then I'm like, oh shoot, it doesn't, or whatever. But I don't want that to be the thing that's like keeping me from creating or making videos or like doing podcasts or whatever. So the reason we started this podcast was because Eden you've been wanting to like make this podcast, right? And like,
yeah, I wanted to try out doing a podcast because one, I like talking to people, and this is a good way to like talk to people. I mean, you don't really get much feedback, but like me and Seven now have this scheduled where we are going to be talking together a couple times a week. Mm-hmm. So
we are scheduled for once a week podcast, so that's our goal right now.
But and then also it feels like this could be a place where we could talk about a lot of like what has happened since we stopped vlogging, and kind of like an area to like process that. And then also I honestly feel kind of guilty for like leaving all of our subscribers hanging, even though like it's not necessarily my job to give them something to look at. It still feels like, why wouldn't I try and give it another go in a way, even though a podcast is different from a vlog.
You mean, from the vlog when you stopped vlogging, and then like a bunch of people were like, oh, where's Eden? Because like you started doing that. There
wasn't a whole lot of that, but there was like, it was more like, oh, where's the family? Why haven't you guys gone on a hike? Why don't you do this run? Why don't you go out here? And it was like, we were just, I don't know, we've been spending so much time growing up, like I feel like this last year I have felt the most acutely that like, oh, I'm a grown up now, like I'm an adult and I have to have my own life now. There's like this pressure to become something, and that's another reason why I like On the Fence, is because like I don't know what I want to be.
Yeah, it's like a big stage of this life where it's like, oh, you're gonna go to college, you're gonna go to college or something? You know, that's
Yeah.
a big question that people are asking right now.
Are you gonna go to college?
It's so much pressure to like answer that question of like being in life or being half in debt. I mean, what am I trying to say? Being in debt for half your life and like answering that question at the age of 18 of just like, do you want to go to college? And then it's like, oh, do I want to do this occupation for the rest of my life? I don't know. And it's like a big question. And you also moved out of the house and now you have to pay rent and all this other stuff. That's just kind of like,
yeah.
I won't tell you guys where she lives, even though it's like, you can guess it probably. It's like up there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, don't give people my address. I don't want to get woken up in the middle of the night. I'm just kidding. But anyways.
You're just kidding. You do want to get
you
woken up in the middle of the night?
Okay, we talked about ending the vlog, the pressure of Heifer Together.
Oh, yeah, let me see.
Yeah, do you want to look at one of your questions?
Yeah. So, what is your current occupation? What are you doing for work and money?
Mine?
To pay the bills.
I mean, that's why I started this podcast. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well,
no.
Patreon down below. GoFundMe. Yo, guys, I appreciate it. Please, if you would please just go donate. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
I mean, what I want to do is I want to paint people's walls for a living, but although I have done some of that, because I love that so much, it almost doesn't feel realistic to try and force that into almost like a way to make money for me, because right now it's just something that I enjoy, even though I do try to like
would you call it a hobby or?
Yeah, it's more of like a hobby. And then I'm working for this company that helped my dad publish a book, and then I just got a job like maybe a month ago for this little shop in Cincinnati. So
for a candle shop in Cincinnati?
Yeah.
They make candles out of beeswax.
It's more of like a bee shop. They have like honey and stuff. Anyways,
so bees.
What's your occupation, Sam?
My occupation is how do I call it? I guess I'm just like a video editor. I'm working for this one dude right now, and it's a really nice job because I just work on my laptop and I can like work wherever. And that's pretty much it. I don't my last like official employment job was that pizza place that I worked at for a little bit that I don't like to talk about because we ended up on really bad terms. And I'm really sick of pizza now because of how many pizzas I ate at that place. But
I could just go for some pizza.
Yeah, not really. I mean, right now I'm in this in-between spot where I don't have to pay for rent because I'm still living with my parents. It's a hard thing for a man to admit, yes, but it's true. And in the meantime, I just have all this free time to like create, and if I can make a living doing that stuff, like the podcasts or making videos for people is another one. Like every once in a while I'll get like commissions of people like, yo, can you make this wedding video or this and that? And I'll be like, yeah, sure. What else? I think that's pretty much it. We have, I don't even know if I want to get into this really, but yeah, never mind, sorry. Well, I'll just say it really quickly. Me needing to get rent money once a month. That's like $350 from this property that me and her own part of. That is for my parents. So that's like the first. Like I'm learning a bunch of like. Oh, that means that the camera stops. Sorry, 1 second, folks. All right. What was I talking about? Rent or whatever. Yeah, that's something that me, Eden, and Dove are getting passively, which is nice because I'm like learning a lot on how to like run a business, because it's basically like, you know, working on something that's gonna potentially make almost passive income. So that's another like job, I guess, kind of occupation that me and Eden have. That's just like there. That's like not a lot of work at all right now.
Right now, it's not. There were
some times, good and bad times. We'll just leave it at that. All right. So Eden works at a bee shop, and I work I edit videos. So, how to handle? Okay, actually, why don't you do one of your questions because I already did one.
Okay, what are your personal hopes and or goals for this podcast? Like, what would you like to happen?
Oh, that's a good one. I think this falls into the boat of what I was talking about earlier of like not having expectations. But if I did have expectations, which I actually kind of do, because
it's hard.
It's like it's hard not to have expectations. I guess like I picture like each video getting like a good amount of views, and then it's just like something to like do in the meantime, and like I'm like trying to further my skills and like video and then conversation too. I guess podcast helps with a lot of conversation because eventually I want to interview some like random people, and then like like having the ability to like speak to someone, and then like planning out events, like coming up with questions for this podcast, and then after this we'll have to edit it and everything, so just like that experience, and then uploading it. So expectation is the question, right?
Hopes and goals.
Hopes and goals. Just like, once a week just to make a podcast and then like update you guys on random stuff that me and Eden are up to, and just kind of like a channel to vent, so I can just like vent to you guys and talk about how shitty my life is. Oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to swear. That's fine. No. I'm cool. All right, you go answer that question for yourself.
I want to get more experience storytelling, and then podcasting in general, and then
storytelling. Let's go.
Yeah, I took that one.
I'm gonna take that one too and put it in my expectations.
I think once I start a podcast and like I'm consistent with it, I'll realize like how doable it actually is for me. But that's what I'm hoping, at least. And then I also, to me, it's really important to be creating something, whether it's I just really like the idea of putting out content, because I very personally know like how much like familiar characters or even like a tone of voice or like the sound of someone's voice like can be comforting to just like random strangers. And so while I'm consuming a lot of content, it's important for me to like try and like put out content that like I hope at the very least, like I don't know how calming my voice is, but like is maybe just like makes people's days like maybe like 1% better.
Yeah, I just like to help people.
Yeah, because it's nice to know that you're not alone. I think the more people that share areas of their life, the more chance we have at achieving that. But that's kind of an abstract hope, I guess. But
yeah, I really agree with that. With like any other 19 or 18-year-olds out there who are struggling, watch us and just learn. Watch and learn. Right?
No.
And listen and learn.
That's not what I meant.
Yeah, that's a joke, actually. All right, next question, or next topic. This kind of relates to some of the stuff we've been talking about. This is actually the difference between me and Eden's personalities. I'm way more advanced technologically. This is the modern notebook. She's stuck with actual physical pen and paper.
Actually, I wrote all of mine down on my phone, but then I was like,
me.
I think it would be nicer if I wasn't looking at my phone. Because would you want to watch something of someone looking at their phone? Because I wouldn't.
I'd watch myself look at a phone all day, every day. So, yes. How to handle procrastination?
You're asking me?
I'm asking both of us, because that's a question that I did a Q&A about myself, and I asked myself some questions. I want to do future Q&As, though. That's a big thing I want to do, is like ask us questions, and then we'll do a Q&A on answering all those.
Not that we're qualified, but we'll try anyways.
Yeah. So I'm asking you, because I actually think you're particularly good with like getting stuff done. You can take that as a compliment. You're welcome.
Thanks.
That's for free. And just not procrastinating on like, oh, I'm gonna do that thing, and just keep on putting it off,
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because the last few months I've been procrastinating more than I think I've ever had in my entire life.
Okay, maybe we'll talk about this like next month or something. No, just kidding.
But I mean, one of my favorite things to listen to is this guy, Gabor Mate. He like talks a lot about like addictions and like.
He wrote The War of Art, right?
No.
Or is that someone else?
No, he writes a lot about like the way that trauma affects the brain, and then like how like the way trauma works is like we create this like way of dealing with something that we can't handle, and then that thing will eventually leave our life. As we become older, we become more capable of protecting ourselves from things that aren't good for us, but we still have those habits. So for example,
so like procrastinating is dealing with trauma.
That can be I think it can be tied to it, not always, but just I don't know. I think it's very easy for me to get caught up in like this like mental web of like sometimes I don't know, I have a to-do list and there's something on it, like for example, I make a podcast and I'm like, okay, I should make this podcast.
It's an odd thing to put on your to-do list.
And
I don't think that's
what can I say? And then one of my siblings will be like, hey, do you want to watch a movie and bake cookies with me? And then I'll start thinking about all the times that I've missed out on doing something fun with either friends that I don't have anymore, or like it could be anybody. Just like that feeling of like FOMO where something like starts and ends without you kind of. So then I'm like, oh, well, I should, what if tomorrow, like, this sibling isn't here? What if one of us gets sick? What if I get in a car crash? So I should go bake cookies and watch the movie instead of making this podcast that's been on my to-do list for weeks. So that's what happens with me with procrastinating, is I start to think really existentially, which I think is something to do with like how old I am, which is just like this idea that like, what if the world ends tomorrow? You know,
that's how you justify getting it done is, oh, what if I die tomorrow? So I should do this today.
Well, it should be me justifying doing something productive, but instead it's me justifying doing what I want to do. That's what that's what I've been dealing with.
That's not what I do.
But I think, I don't know. I think I just had this talk with Dada today, actually.
Ben Crawford, Crawford.
Yeah, sorry.
Not your dad, our dad.
And there's this idea, it's really popular. It's not like nothing new, but like the idea of enjoying the process. So for example, I enjoy talking. So I am like, oh, I'm going to do a podcast because that involves talking. Even though I might not enjoy all the elements that go into making a podcast, like editing, even though that's actually kind of satisfying to me.
All right, you can do that then.
But we'll take turns. But I think if you really focus on like, well, first you gotta thin out like, okay, what is really important to me? Because there's a lot out there. Like there are vlogs, there are podcasts, there are blogs, there are Instagram Reels, TikToks, YouTube Shorts, or whatever.
Are you talking about a lot to let that's like distracting you?
A lot of things that you can do with your time.
Yeah.
That can be kind of overwhelming for really anybody, just like who has access to a phone or a computer. It's just there's all these options, and that can also like kind of like slow you down, because it's like I usually end up having to divide my time between 20 different things instead of 10 things, and because of that I end up doing 20 things really badly instead of 10 things maybe okay or better.
I recently put a screen...
That was one tangent, sorry.
Screen time. What is it called? Screensaver.
Screen. Wait, you have like a time limit?
Yeah, time limit because...
Like which apps?
TikTok, Instagram. That's pretty much it. But like just like any like app that like sucks up my time. Any app that if I feel like I'm consuming more than I'm contributing, it's like a really bad feeling for me.
Yeah.
And I felt that a lot with TikTok and Instagram. Like I was like, oh, I'm doing nothing but consuming and consuming and consuming. And I think in America, there's probably more consumers than there are creators.
Yeah. Sadly, I think that might be true.
Yeah, and it's just like the culture of just like sitting on your couch with a bag of popcorn watching TikToks. I've never done that before, but I'm just saying as an example.
Well, the part that like really sucks about it is like when you make something, you kind of like feel good about yourself.
I feel really good about myself when I make something that I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
And it's like long-term gratification, or what is the word? Long-term
Satisfaction.
No, there's a word for it. That's like short-term.
Well, spending like an hour on TikTok would be like short-term gratification.
Yeah, no, what is the word? I don't know. There's a really, yeah, we'll just use gratification, I guess. And then, yeah, that provides long-term gratification where like, you're like, oh, I made something and like people enjoy it, hopefully. It was really hard for me, or I guess you finish because I'll.
No, I talked a lot. You can go.
All right, so it was really hard for me to like get out of this like wave of just like being like, oh, why should I create? Like, what's the point even? And it's just because I like want to do it. Like, it was hard for me to realize that I wanted to do it when I create something and I'm like, oh, that's the feeling that I want when I create something, and then people enjoy it. It's like such a good feeling. Versus like, I think it's like a lot different when you are sitting on a couch, looking at funny TikToks or short videos that are like really short-term pleasure. And it's not the same, where it's like you just don't feel productive. And I've like been putting off so many projects and a lot of ideas where I'm just like getting this really terrible mindset of like, what is the point? Like, why should I do that? Which I think is really bad for me, myself, because it's just like,
Then you feel crappier about
yourself. I
yourself.
feel really bad. And then just like, why was I put on this planet? Like what the heck?
Wait, we need to make a decision. Are we cussing on here or not?
Fuck, I don't know, dude. Shit. Let's make the fucking decision. You fucking decide. Fuck it, let's not cuss. No, I'm gonna cuss, so I'll bleep it out if I have to.
Just speak the way you're used to speaking. I think that's the best thing we can actually do. Is just be as true to yourself as possible.
Yeah. I put a screensaver on my phone because I don't want to be like one of those people who like have to admit like, okay, I think I actually need to, or a time limit, on my phone. But I did it, and it's really helping. Where I'm like, okay, only spend 15 minutes on Instagram, 15 minutes on TikTok, or I have an hour total to spend on my phone, because it is depressing looking at least for myself, looking at my screensaver, because I'm like, I did not spend 4 hours on my phone. Did I seriously do that? Yeah. And I'm like, I don't believe it. And it's like so bad. Like, it's like.
And you imagine like what you could do with those 4 hours instead of that. Like.
And the list goes on of how you could have spent those 4 hours. And it's just so, I'm just such not a fan of it. And so I put the screensaver on my phone, and then how I'm breaking down things that I want to do, like, for example, starting this podcast, I pitched the idea to Eden, and I was like, I want to start this podcast. And then I just break that up into like a to-do list of like, okay, have to get like everything set up, come up with questions, topics, ideas, and then profile picture, name, all this other stuff. That's like, when you look at it, like the grand scheme of things, you're like, wow, that's a big project. I don't even know where to get started, so I'm not going to start. When I think in reality, it's just like best just to just start, even if it's bad, at least. Just keep
on making mistakes.
Keep on making mistakes. Keep on making it shitty, like shitty content, and it will get better and you will change. I guess consider it a success if you learn from it. I didn't make that. Okay, don't crucify me in the comments. I did not come up with that saying. Okay, I stole it from someone else. I think it was a quote on my tea bag, but. So yeah, it's it's something I'm really like sensitive about, and I don't like to admit it, but it's just like a really vulnerable topic where I'm like, yeah, wow, I have not been productive, and I feel like shit. And like when someone is like, dude, where have you been? Like, why haven't you been making videos? I'm like, well, I don't want to talk about it. So
I feel like that too.
yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of crippling because you start getting into this like cycle of like, you schedule something to do, you don't do it, and then you feel bad that you don't do it. So then the next thing that you have to do, you feel like extra like, oh, I really, really don't want to do this.
Yeah, like piles up.
Yeah.
It never gets easier.
And then you just feel worse and worse and become more and more like paralyzed by the weight of like the things that you like said you would do or planned on doing that you haven't done.
Yeah. Like I had a million things that I wanted to do by the age of 18, and like probably 90% of them are not done, and it's like just think about that.
But also like
I gotta stop this.
I also think that like we probably forget like how much we didn't plan on doing that ends up happening. Like
yeah, you can't control 100% of your life. That's true. But
I
like just realizing like no one is gonna do this stuff for me, you know, like I'm not a little kid anymore, and just like a big wake up call, like okay, I have to be the one to like get myself out of bed and like go to the gym and work out and stay healthy, and you know, I have to be that guy for myself now. Like I don't know, it's just a big step into whatever you want to call it, manhood or whatever.
I think the key
and womanhood, well, just human adult life.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make this. Anyway, continue.
I don't know. I think the key is just like loving the process, because if you do something for any other sort of validation besides just liking liking actually doing it, I feel like you'll always be questioning what you're doing, and I mean there will always be like another reason to not do it, whether it's like a comment or a lack of a comment. So if you're gonna do something, you know.
Yeah, like if you're like I want to make this video and have it get 1 million views, and that's your expectation, and that's why you're making the video to get 1 million views, and it doesn't, then you know obviously you're gonna feel like crap because it didn't get 1 million views. But if you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this because I enjoy doing it, then it's just a win-win situation basically. You know.
I feel like people are gonna be in the comments. They're gonna be like, these privileged kids doing what I like. I can't do what I like.
Haters gonna hate. Haters make me famous.
No. I don't know.
All right, you go ahead and.
I don't have many more. I already like pretty much addressed.
Those are all of them?
I mean, not linearly. I kind of addressed everything on my list.
Okay. Wow, it's a good thing we have me here, folks, because then this podcast will be over.
Well, we've already been, it's like 30 minutes in.
I don't know. Probably.
If we did 2 sets of 15
I think,
minutes.
yeah, I want to shoot for these podcasts to be about 40 minutes long, so. Are you a perfectionist?
Are you?
I asked you first.
Who isn't?
Well, yeah, I guess, like, define perfectionist for yourself, and, like, you know. Because for me, this also ties into the, what do you call it? Procrastination side of things, where I'm like, oh, I want it to be perfect. And that's another excuse of procrastinating. And I'm like, I know it'll never be perfect, so I just don't do it.
Yeah.
But,
or you're waiting for the perfect opportunity, and there is no such thing as
yeah, sometimes it'll get the best of me, where I'm like, I have a really good idea, and I'm like, wow, this is going to be amazing. And it's just like, I try it. I get a video camera and I try it, and then it just falls apart. And because I'm a perfectionist, it's just like not what it's just like terrible, because I'm like, dude, this is stupid. Why am I even doing this? And it's a huge letdown. But I think I want to work on just like no matter what, like not making it perfect, because it's never going to be perfect. You know, it doesn't even exist. So just knowing that and understanding that it'll never be perfect, I think will help me like be like, okay, I can like move on with this, and like at least just try to make the best of my situation, just like the best of this project that I'm working on. And if I don't have a goal, I've noticed like if I don't have a goal of like expectation of how I want this project to work out, then it ends up being so much better than I could ever hoped or dreamed, basically. Instead of, having this idea in my head of like, oh, this is perfect to me. This is what I want.
If it's anything less.
Yeah, and then getting to that point and then being like, damn it, it's not what I had in mind.
Yeah.
And that was bare minimum in my mind. That's stupid. So that's kind of like what I have in terms of perfectionist, in terms of like my product or my projects and stuff. It will be like a blessing and a curse sometimes.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe perfectionism.
Yeah. So for you, first of all, are you or are you not a perfectionist?
I've been called a perfectionist a lot of my life. I feel like in some areas of my life I am constantly trying to improve, and it can get really caught up in like, oh, this could be better if it just was like this, or if it just was, blank. But I mean, overall, it's like you said, it's like a blessing and a curse. Like, there are good things and bad things about it. I think I've gotten a lot better at not getting caught up in like the things that don't matter, and kind of taking a step back and looking at things more big picture of like, okay, so like I messed up there, but like what really matters, like that I don't know, tripped up, or that like I'm still alive and I still can eat and I can still hang out and I still have friends and I still have people that love me. Like it's I don't know.
It'll be okay.
I think it's really important to like, I think perfectionism can be good, but I think where it can be good is like if you keep on trying. Not that like you make something perfect in the first try, but that like you come back after it fails. Which is one of the ways that I've seen it be really helpful in my life, is that I get better at things because like after I mess up, I like try again. A good example of that is like baking. Like I have messed up so many recipes.
So many, dude. My teeth have to thank you for how many.
Your teeth?
And just my taste buds.
You mean I was gonna say your taste buds.
All of it, bro. I mean, you've gone way better, but I'm not gonna roast you on.
But because I loved cooking, and because I was like, oh, there has to be a way that this should work.
You would
I kept on doing it.
Make cookies and then not put any sugar in them, and they would just be like little egg pancakes that are like cookies apparently. But you would always cut back on ingredients. It's just one example.
I mean, that was the effect of like diet culture on me. It was like I was like, oh, I'm gonna make things without any sugar, which is
but now you don't do that anymore.
Baking
So that's
just
that's just an example.
Yeah. Anyways, I feel like I don't know if I've ever met someone who isn't a perfectionist in some way, but when you see someone doing something that they know really well, it's kind of like, it feels like
a perfect craft that they have.
Yeah. Whether it's like someone like writing really smoothly, or it could be like the tiniest thing, or like putting in nails, or it could be fixing a car or painting a wall.
They just know exactly what to do, and it's
you know that they've done it so many times that like you're like, oh, how do I?
I'll get carried away, where I'll see that person, I'll be like, I want to be that, and then I try it for a week, and I'm like, never mind. Or like, how do I I'll see someone like do a cool trick, or like flip or break dance, and I'm like, I'm gonna learn that, or do a wheelie, and it just takes a lot of work, like, and that person who's like really good at it just put in a lot of hours to getting to that point. And I think that's like a huge thing that I see on the internet of just like a bunch of like the best of everyone's life. That's like, look, I can do this, look, I can do this, and it's like, wow, I can't do any of that. That's stupid. So
that's one of the awful things about it, is like people can choose to just show this one side of them, and because of, I don't know whether it's the way my mind works, I'm constantly comparing to this like amazing side that they show, and I don't have the full picture or all the other pieces of the puzzle of this person's life.
Yeah, exactly. Of like how many bones they had to break to get that trick down or whatever.
Yeah. Anyways, do you have any more questions? Because we should probably start.
No, that's that's it.
Drawing this to a close.
Yeah. So the reason I have this timer buzzing off in your guys' earlobes is because this camera.
This is the earlobe. This part of the ear is the little part that you actually hear. I think that like so it would
This
be.
is.
This is the.
I didn't graduate high school, people.
Not that it matters though.
Yeah, not that it matters. So why'd you bring it up? Anyways, if you guys are not watching this on YouTube, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But we're recording this, and it's going on YouTube. And the camera, it like shuts off every 15 minutes for whatever reason. So I have to set a 15-minute timer every time to keep it going.
Yeah. Well.
So I'd recommend you listening to this on Spotify because, you don't have to watch all these mistakes.
You can just hear them instead.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so just some quick details of this podcast. We will be uploading it, just so everyone knows, I'm going to get it on Spotify, Anchor. You can get it on Anchor, right?
We can put it on Anchor, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, okay. And then YouTube. It's going on YouTube. I'm not sure what channel. We might make a whole separate channel. And then we made a new Instagram account called On the Fence. On the Fence or On the Fence Podcast? I'm going to look it up right now.
Not sure, but the O is a 0.
The O is a 0 because it was taken. Some freaking idiot thought it was okay to take
a quicker person.
The name of my future podcast. But it looks good because it looks like a capital O. So
yeah,
it's better than the Fence Podcast. So.
All right. Well, thank you for watching.
And listening more because this is a podcast.
Yeah, and listening. And I guess let us know what you think. Although.
In the comments, if you have any ideas. In the future, I don't know what we're going to do for next episode, but we have to come up with more ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Our schedule is to upload every Sunday. And we're going to be interviewing some guests in the future. I don't know when, and I don't know who, but it's gonna happen.
But we have some ideas. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening
to the On the Fence podcast starring Eden and Seven. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
We should come up with a.
Bye-bye. Okay, what should our outro be?
I don't know.
Thanks for listening to the
On the Fence podcast. No, you should make one with your OP1.
Yeah.
So that thing is just gathering dust.
Oh. Shut up. We're done talking about procrastination. Our outro should be On the Fence podcast. Yeah. Bye.
No.
All right, whatever. All right, we'll see you guys next week on the Fence podcast. Or no, On the Fence podcast. Or on the Fence podcast. I don't even know.
Oh, on the.
On the Fence podcast. Thank you for listening and watching.
You've said that so many times.
I love you. See you later.
Here's where we turn everything off.
Okay.